When was the last time something really excited you? Excited you so much that you couldn't wait to share it with others. Often such a reaction can be triggered by the simplest and most obvious things, like a tiny puppy, or falling in love, or renewing an old friendship.
Such is not the case.
The great ideas in Lead the Field can have that effect on us too.
It's true with most
they can turn our
inventions
lives
and discoveries
upside down.
which obviously affect our lives.
Suddenly, the lights are turned on, and we can see the world much more clearly. Opportunities take on new luster, even though they have been there all the time, unnoticed, waiting for the great idea to make them glow. The multifaceted career of Earl Nightingale, author and narrator of Lead the Field, is an affirmation of the effect of great ideas on our lives and the degree of success we attain. As a teenager, Earl saw the plight of his family and friends in the worst of the Depression. At that time, he couldn't afford any books. So he began seeking the answers, the keys to a better life in his local library. And as a voracious reader, he kept searching the rest of his life. After serving as a U.S. Marine in World War II, Earl became a well-known broadcast personality and was inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame. For his many achievements as an entrepreneur, writer, public speaker, recording artist, and radio and television commentator, he also won a gold record for the LP The Strangest Secret, for sales exceeding 1 million copies, the Golden Gavel Award from Toastmasters International, the Napoleon Hill Foundation Gold Medal Award for Literary Excellence, and was inducted into the International Speakers Hall of Fame. He authored numerous audio and video programs, more than 7,000 radio and television commentaries, and 2 best-selling books. In Lead the Field, Earl Nightingale will lead you down new paths and old familiar trails. You'll rediscover the power of words like attitude and service and goals and commitment. You learn the use of intelligent objectivity and the benefit of being constructively discontented. And with each repeated listening, you'll unearth new gems from these acres of diamonds. Hundreds of thousands of men and women have benefited over the years from this treasury of great ideas and sound. Lead the Field is the synthesis of a lifetime of research, reading, and refining by Earl Nightingale. Starting with your first session, The Magic Word. The messages you're about to hear are widely considered all-time classics in the field of personal development.
Sir Isaac Newton, in promulgating his laws of physics, put this one in this way.
This is Earl Nightingale with Lead the Field. This program is about 12 ideas that will bring order and success into our lives. These ideas will work wonders regardless of what we choose as the main thrust of our lives, for these are the great ideas that have evolved over the centuries, and together they form a constellation by which you and I can safely and successfully navigate.
I like to think of this law in the form of a giant apothecary scale, a kind of...
The great Spanish philosopher Ortega reminded us that we human beings are the only creatures on the planet Earth that are born into a natural state of disorientation with our world. That is, while all other creatures are guided by instinct of which they're neither aware nor have the capacity to question. Each of us, as human creatures, was given the godlike power to create his or her own life, and each of us does exactly that. All the years of his or her life,
he needs to examine his
every day we put in place actions and ideas that will determine the shape and substance of our tomorrow. For some, those ideas and actions lead inevitably to extraordinary achievement and rewards. For most, they tend to lead to a kind of middle ground in which great numbers of people take their cues from each other without question or consideration. And for some, those actions and ideas lead to repeated frustration and problems as they spend their lives in the bottom layers of the socio-economic pyramid. Success or failure as a human being is not a matter of luck or circumstance or fate or the breaks or who you know or any of the other tiresome old myths and cliches by which the ignorant tend to excuse themselves. It's a matter of following a common sense paradigm of rules, guidelines anyone can follow. Now, this program, Lead the Field, has changed more lives, brought about more success stories, helped create more millionaires, saved more careers, important jobs, and marriages than any other program ever produced. And the rules we talk about here don't change. They apply to any situation, under any and all circumstances.
Every time
we never have to say, I wonder what will work in this particular situation. All we have to do is make these ideas our own.
Mow the lawn, go fishing, try making your own
and we begin with what I call
served by
the magic word.
Every time you look at your watch,
we all want good results from life, in our home, our work, and in all our contacts
with other people.
Rewards, and the most important single factor to guarantee good results day in, day out, all the months and years of our lives is a healthy attitude. Attitude is the magic word. But attitude is defined as the position or bearing as indicating action, feeling, or mood. And it is our actions, feelings, or moods which determine the actions, feelings, and moods of others. Our attitude tells the world what we expect in return. If it's a cheerful, expectant attitude, it says to everyone with whom we come in contact that we expect the best in our dealings with our work.
We can see it in the tense, strained, and nervous
faces. We tend to live up to our
expectations, which are consumed
and others give to us as far as their attitudes are concerned.
Bovine-like faces of those who have found the whole
our attitude is something we can control. We can establish our attitude each morning when we start our day. In fact, we do just that whether we realize it or not.
Is due to
and the people in our family, all the people in our world will reflect back to us the attitude we present to them.
Now, do you understand?
It is then our attitude toward life which determines life's attitude.
If you do,
toward us,
you can chart a wonderful course through life.
Everything we say or do will cause a corresponding effect.
Speeding truck.
If we're cheerful, glad to be experiencing this miracle of life, others will reflect that good cheer back to us.
The curve.
We are the kind of person others enjoy being around.
To the rules.
You and I are responsible for our lives. You and I produce causes all day long, every day of our lives. The environment can only return to us a corresponding effect. And then that's why each of us determines the quality of his or her own life.
Those who understand
we get back
the wood must be put in
what we put out.
And expect warmth. And those who feel
here's a way to test the past quality of your attitude. Or would you say people tend to react to you in a smiling, positive manner with friendly greetings when you appear? Your answer to that question will tell the story.
Represented by the distance.
I remember the time when a man and his wife bought a home across the street from me in Florida. They'd moved there from Minnesota. They'd planned the move for years because they were tired of the northern winters and he was an avid fisherman. Several months passed after their move, and one day I was surprised to see them packing.
Upward spiral of civilization.
I walked across the street and asked the man if they were leaving so soon after they made the move.
He nodded.
You've determined
my wife
hates
it
here, he said.
We're going back home at the place in which you now find.
I asked him how in the world his wife could hate it separating you from his wife didn't like about the place,
ways of
and with a few questions,
so you'll
build
the bridge
across
it.
She hasn't been accepted here, he said. The other women of the community have left her strictly alone. She's made no friends. She hasn't been asked to participate in any of the community activities.
One morning I was having breakfast in a restaurant in Monterey,
as she let the other women know she's interested in participating in community
Suddenly
activities.
I was aware of the young people sitting in the booth.
He stopped what he was doing and looked at me.
It was obvious that they were very unhappy.
No, he said.
And
No,
she
she
hadn't.
hadn't.
They couldn't have been
She's
over
been
25.
waiting for the women to ask her.
Well, I've tried everywhere, but no one wants
and
to
since
give me
she
a job.
stayed in the house, waiting for them to come to her, they've thought of her as reclusive, as a person who's not interested in making friends.
But we're
so they've left her
unable to find a job.
Well, there was a long silence, and he began
Nobody
nodding.
wants to give me
Yes,
a job.
that's exactly what's happened, he said.
He wanted someone to give him something.
Yes, the women of the neighborhood should have come to her and introduced themselves or invited her to a tea or luncheon.
What if he had
But
said
they were
instead,
reacting to her.
What
she
do I
didn't
know
that the community could only give her back
part of the world,
a reflection of her own
how
attitude.
can I or we be of value?
He was
to
a
this
woman in her
community?
60s who had never learned the first important rule for successful living.
If we can think of
that our surroundings will always reflect us,
we can
that our environment is a mirror,
some
often a merciless mirror,
what do they need
of
or
ourselves.
want that we can supply?
Do they need a handyman? As soon as a person begins to change his or her surroundings will change, and it works like this. Great attitude, great results. Good attitude, good result. Paper and ballpoint, fair or average attitude, all the things we can do to earn a living or average results. It'll give us time to think of other ways, more profitable ways. But that wash and wax idea might grow into quite a service. So each of us shapes his or her own life, and to an altogether unexpected extent, the shape and texture, the quality or the lack of quality of our lives is determined by our habitual attitude. That sounds simple, doesn't it? But it's not quite that easy. For most of us, learning this new habit takes time to find business for themselves. But once it becomes a habit-knit part of our lives, our world will change as dramatically as would walking from a dark cave into the bright light of day. Speaking Urdu. Most people never think about their attitudes at all. For most of them, it's a matter of beginning each day in neutral. Their attitudes are neither good nor bad, but are poised to react to whatever stimuli they encounter. If the stimulus is good, they'll reflect it. If it's bad, they'll reflect that too. Would have reacted the same way these young people had reacted. And they go through their days reacting to whatever confronts them. And these are the people of our environment. That's why it's so important for us to control our attitudes, to make sure they're excellent or good. A person with a poor attitude toward learning, for example, isn't going to learn very much. By thinking I know you can think of examples of this in your own life. Most people if we take the attitude that we can't do something, we generally will not do it. An attitude of failure, and we're whipped before we start. They were putting it was William James of Harvard, the founder of psychology in America, who said human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes and abundantly fair. Our job is to describe the attitude that's worked so well for me over the years. I found myself using two important words. We've been given equipment free and clear, and all we are asked to do first is use it. For the opportunity to live on this beautiful and astonishing planet Earth. In the public schools, I wake up with a sense of gratitude in the morning, for that matter. Secondly, is a subject I expect the best. May seem. I expect to reach the goals I established for myself, about which we'll talk a good deal more later in the program. It exists. I find the idea of fulfilling those goals agreeable. Hence, the attitude is prepared to react to a person's every action. I know the world will give me back what I put out. Whatever your job happens to be, think of it so it's up to me. This pot of ground. I'm responsible. In the beginning, there's nothing there but Earth. There are millions of human beings living narrow, dark, and frustrated lives, living offensively simply because they take a defensive and doubtful attitude toward themselves will combine, and as a result toward life in general. Few results for limited efforts. A person with a poor attitude becomes a magnet for unpleasant experiences. When those experiences come, as they must because of his attitude, they tend to reinforce his poor attitude, thereby bringing more problems and so on. The person becomes an example of self-generating, doom-fulfilling prophecy. And it's all a matter, believe it or not, of attitude. We get what we expect, and our outlook on life is a kind of paintbrush, and with it we paint our world. It can be bright and filled with hope and satisfaction, or it can be dark and gloomy, lugubrious. This person it's hard to convince people sometimes that the world they experience is a reflection of their attitude. They take the attitude that if people would only be nice to them, they'd be nice in return. They're like the person sitting in front of the cold stove, that's all we should be waiting for the heat. It's what we do with it that will determine. Until they put in the fuel, there's not going to be any heat. It's like a stray preacher who's driving by a beautiful farm. It has to start somewhere. Beautifully cultivated, let it begin with well-cared crops. The fences, house, and barn were clean, neat, freshly painted. Attitude is the reflection of the person led from the road to the house. Consider for a moment the people who go sailing through life from one success to another, and who, when they occasionally fail at something, shrug it off and head right out again. The road. No matter what a person does, wherever you find a person doing an outstanding job and getting outstanding results, and the farmer stopped, you find a person with a good attitude. These people take the attitude toward themselves that they can accomplish what they set out to accomplish. They take the attitude that achievement is the natural order of things, and it is. That he had been blessed. That there's no good reason on earth why they can't be as successful, as competent as anyone else. They have a healthy attitude toward themselves, and as a result, toward life and the things they want to accomplish. Because of that, they accomplish some remarkable things that have come to be called successful and outstanding and well and lucky upon so on. They're quite frequently no smarter or more talented than most other people, but they have the right attitude. They find their accomplishments not too difficult simply because it seems so few others
are really trying,
It's the same land.
or really believe in themselves.
It's what we do with it that
As
makes
the luck,
difference.
The
miracle
is there. Luck
If
is
only
what
we're
happens
wise
when
enough to see
prepared
it
to
and
realize
meet
that
our
our
fulfillment
fulfillment as persons
and
depends
opportunity
upon our
is there
reaction
all
to
the
what
time.
we've been given.
In
person
thinking
can
of
be
ways
very
of
efficient
increasing
at
their
his or
service
her work.
read books
But
on
if the
your
corresponding
specialty.
excellent
Read what
attitude
others
is
have found to
present,
work well for them.
well, the person's a
Listen to these
failure.
programs
A
of
robot can do a
but at
great
the same
job,
time, think of
but
original
only a
and
human
creative
being
ways
can
of increasing
ennoble
your
work
service
with a
ways
great
that are
attitude,
unique
and by
to
so
you and the
doing
way
touch
you
it
are.
with the magic of
Going
humanness,
at it strong
make
for a
it
week
come
or a
alive
month
and
and then falling
sing,
back into
make
old
it truly
habits is just like
worthwhile.
working for a
That,
week
my
or a
friend,
month on that
makes
pot
the
of ground,
difference.
and then abandoning it.
Successful
Before
people
long,
come in all
it'll be no
sizes,
better than
shapes,
before.
ages, and colors, and in widely varying degrees of intelligence and
morning,
education.
and during
but
the
they
day,
have one thing in
ask
common.
yourself this question.
They expect more
How
good
can
out
I
of life
increase
than
my
bad.
service today?
They expect to
Knowing that
succeed
my rewards
more
in
often than
life
they
must be
fail.
in exact
And they
proportion
do.
to my service.
Now there
I
are
do this
things
every
you
day,
want.
and you'll have started
Worthwhile
to form one
things.
of life's most
Take
valuable
the
habits.
attitude that there are a lot
Horace
more
Mann
reasons
wrote,
why you can reach
"If any
those
man seeks
goals
for
than fail
greatness,
in the attempt.
let him
Go
forget
after
greatness
them. Work
and
at
ask
it.
for truth.
Keep your attitude
And
positive,
he'll
cheerful,
find
and
both.
expectant, and you'll
You
get
see,
them.
you can cut
And as
away
you
all
do,
the
you'll grow to
confusion
new
and
plateaus and be able to
complications,
accomplish
nagging
still
worries
more.
and vague,
And
half-formed
remember this,
fears by
our environment,
returning to the great
the
truths,
world in which
the
we
great
find
laws, the great
ourselves
verities
living
of
and
all
working,
success, all
is a
accomplishment,
mirror
which the whole
of our
world is built.
attitudes and expectations.
Drive down any street
If we
in the
feel
country,
that our
any
environment
street
could
in any
stand some
neighborhood,
improvement,
or farm
we can bring
community, any
about
street
that
at all,
change for the better
and you
by
can quickly see
improving
what
our
the people on that
attitudes.
street are
The
doing for
world
the good
plays
of the
no
community
favorites. It's
by
impersonal.
observing
It
what the
doesn't care
community
who
is doing for
succeeds
them.
or who fails, nor does it care
Have
if
you
we
ever looked at
change.
it that way?
Our
We can tell by
attitude
looking
toward
at a
life
place of
doesn't
business
affect
what
the
it's
world
doing
and
for
the
the
people in
community
it
by
nearly
observing
so
what the
much
community has done
as
to
it
the place
affects
of
us.
business. Is it thriving and growing?
It would be
Or is it
impossible
just
to
holding
even
its own?
estimate the number
Or
of
soon to go out
jobs
of
that have been lost.
Whatever the
Promotions or
situation,
good grades
it's a
missed,
reflection of its service,
sales
how
lost,
well
or marriages
its
ruined,
service,
whatever it
by
may be,
poor
attitude
is being accepted by
But
the
you
people.
can number in the millions
Is it
the
meeting their
jobs which
needs
are
and
held
wants?
but hated.
It's
The
the same with
marriages which are
families in their
tolerated
places
but
of
unhappy.
residence.
The
That's why I
parents
said
and
you could
children who
drive
fail
down
to
any
understand
street.
and love one
Some
another.
streets are lined with
All
beautiful,
because of people
expensive
who are
homes,
waiting for the
while
world
some
and others
neighborhoods
to
are
change
obviously
toward
suffering
them.
from poverty.
They don't
Random
understand that what
what
they're
their
getting
weeds
is a
growing in the
reflection
yards,
of
tin
themselves.
cans and rubble
Nothing can
strewn
change
everywhere,
until we
rusted
do.
cars.
When we
It's
change,
a
our
reflection
world
of what
will
the
change.
people living in
The
those
answer
homes,
is attitude.
beautiful and expensive, or rundown and filthy, are
How
doing
does
for
one
the
develop a good
and for the
attitude?
community. That's it.
The same
It's
way
always
one
been a
develops
matter of
any other
interest to me
factor.
that
Practice.
in neighborhoods with high
One
unemployment,
good way is to
the
stick a
people
small
that don't
sign
seem
on
to
the
have enough
bathroom
time to
mirror
keep
on
their
which
homes
is
and yards
printed the word
tidy.
attitude.
While
That
those
way you'll
working
see it
the
first thing
hardest,
every morning.
while
You might
those
have another
doing
one in
the
your
most,
car and at
have
your
the
place
cleanest,
of work.
most
We need to
attractive homes
smile
with
more,
well-manicured
speak
lawns
to
and
people,
flower
go
gardens.
out to people. Everything in the world we want
Environment is a
to
mirror
do or
of
get
the
done, we
people
must
in
do
that
with
neighborhood.
and through people.
Change the people,
Every
and the
dollar we will
environment
ever
will
earn
change
must
accordingly.
come from people. Everything
It reminds me of the
worthwhile,
old
the person
saying,
we love and with whom
"What
we
you
want to
are
spend the rest of our
speaks
life
so loudly,
is a human
I
being
can't
with
hear what
whom we
you're
must
saying."
interact. Our children are individuals,
One day a
each
man was
different
watching a
from any other
professional
person who
football
ever
game on
lived.
television. His
What affects
5-year-old
the
son
most
kept bothering him
is
so
our
he took a page of the Sunday
attitude, the
paper with a
loving
full-page
kindness they
airline
see
ad
and
on it
feel
showing
whenever
a
we're
picture of the
around.
world. The planet Earth is seen
If you
from
begin
space.
to develop and hold
He
an
tore the
attitude
page
that
up
says
into a dozen
yes to
pieces
life
and gave them
and
to
the
his son.
world,
He said, "Here,
you'll
put
be
this together with
astonished
this
at the
cellophane
changes you'll
tape and
see.
show Daddy how smart you are."
Someone once said,
Then he went back
life
to
is
watching his
dull
football game.
only to dull people.
Well, in a
It's
surprisingly
true.
short time,
Of
the
course,
youngster had the picture
it's
all
also
taped back
true that life
together.
is interesting
It wasn't
only to
very neat,
interesting
but it was a
people.
very good
and
job
life is
indeed for
successful
one so young.
only for successful
Hey, that's
people.
amazing, the
We
father
must be
said.
the epitome.
How did you put
the
that
embodiment
world together so
We
quickly?
must radiate success
And the little boy
before
said,
it'll come to us.
There was a
We must
picture of
first
a man
become
on the other
mentally
side.
from an attitude
I
standpoint.
just put the man
the
together.
people we wish to become.
And then the world was all
Many
together.
years ago, a famous Los Angeles restaurateur was
The
asked
youngster
by
was
a
no doubt
newspaper reporter,
surprised by the big
"When
warm
did you
hug he
become
got."
successful?"
That's right,
And he
son, the
replied,
father said.
"I was successful
successful when I was dead broke. I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew I'd do it. It was only a matter of time. Being together is understanding. He had a successful attitude long before the success he sought had become a reality. We have to work. The great German philosopher and writer Goethe put it this way: "My father worked before you can do something. Never had anything to show for it. You must be something." It's another way of saying, but let me prove my point by giving you a test. Never quite figured out how conscientiously go about the test I'll outline and concentrate on it every day. You'll find yourself becoming another case lucky as the uninitiated call it. All sorts of wonderful things will begin happening in their life, and it'll show you what a great attitude can mean. So here's the test.
He never stayed with one thing
Treat
long enough to
every
work it
person
out.
with whom you come in
Succeeding
contact
takes time.
as the
It
most
takes
important
dedication,
person on earth.
100% commitment and creative thought.
Now, you do
We
that
must
for
keep
three
asking
excellent
ourselves,
reasons.
how can I broaden
One,
my service? And
as
by
far
so
as every
doing,
person is
increase
concerned,
my harvest.
he or she is the
my
most
reward.
important person on earth.
All right.
Two,
how can we
because
correct
that's the way
situation?
human beings ought to treat each other. And
William
three,
James gave
by
us the
treating
answer.
everyone this way,
He wrote,
we begin to form an
unusual
important
stimulus,
fills them with
There's
emotional
nothing in the
excitement,
world that men, women,
some
and children want
unusual
and need
idea
more
of necessity
than
induces
self-esteem,
the
them
feeling
to make
that
an
they're
extra
important,
effort of
that
will.
they're recognized, that they're needed,
Excitements,
that they
ideas,
count and are
efforts.
respected.
In a word,
they will give
are
their
what
love,
carry us over the day.
their respect, and their
All right.
business to the person
Let
who
your
fills
goal
this
represent
need,
the excitement.
even if it's a short
Your
encounter.
ideas and efforts will weigh
You ever
down the
notice that the
service
higher
end of
you
the
go in
scale,
any
and the
organization of
rewards
value,
must and will
the
follow.
nicer the people
They'll be
feel to
yours.
become.
They are yours. The
It
moment
works
you
this way.
realize the truth.
The bigger the people,
As ye sow,
the easier it is to talk
so
to
shall
them,
ye reap.
to get along with
All
them,
the years of
and
your
work
life.
with them. So they naturally
If you're worried about
matriculate
your
to the
income
top.
or your future,
It's their
you're
attitudes.
concentrating on the wrong end
And
of
the
the
people
scale.
with great
Look at the other
attitudes
end.
just
Concern
naturally
yourself
gravitate
only
to
with
the top
increasing
of
your
whatever
service,
business or
with
department
becoming
they're
great
in.
where you are.
They
and
don't
your
have great
income and your
attitudes
future will
because
take
of their
care themselves.
positions.
Don't
They have
be
their
the person
positions
sitting in front of that
largely
empty
because of
fireplace
their
and
great
asking for
attitude.
heat. You're asking for
For the
impossible.
purposes of this test,
Pile in the
act
wood
toward
first,
others in exactly
and
the
the heat
same
will come
manner
as a
that you
result.
want them to act toward
Next
you.
time you're off by yourself,
Treat
in a
the
quiet
members of
place,
your family
contemplate
as the
your
very
plot of
important
ground,
people
your
they
life,
really are,
and
the
begin to
most
sow the
important in the
seeds
world.
which will yield you a rich
Carry
and
out
abundant
into the
harvest.
world each morning the kind of
In William
attitude
James'
you'd
essay
have
on vital
if you were the
reserves,
most
he wrote,
successful person on
compared
earth.
with what we ought to be,
Notice how quickly
we're
it
only
develops
half
into a
away.
habit.
Our fires
And
are
almost
dimmed, our
immediately a
drafts
change
are
will be
checked.
noticed.
We're
Irritations
making
that
only a
used to
small part of
frustrate
our
you begin
possible
to
mental and
disappear.
physical resources.
When some less informed
Stating the
person
thing
gives you a
broadly
bad
but
time,
underwrite,
don't let
the
his
human
poor
individual
attitude
thus
infect
lives
yours.
usually far within
Keep
his
yours in
limits.
hand.
He possesses
Keep it
powers
good.
of various sorts
Keep
which he
cool,
habitually
above it
fails
all,
to
and
use.
smiling.
He
If someone
energizes
cuts in
below
front of your
his
car
maximum,
or acts in
and he
any other
behaves
manner that shows a
below
lack of
his
courtesy, don't react as he would. Smile it off. Destructive emotions such as anger, hatred, or jealousy don't hurt others. They hurt you. They can make your life miserable. They can make you sick. Forgive everyone who ever hurt you. Really
It is
forgive.
our intention that each of
And then
these
forgive
messages be
yourself.
built upon a major
That's
principle.
all past.
One of the great ideas
Stewing
which
over it,
automatically produces the
exhuming
results
it,
we seek.
can only make you sick.
In this message, let's
Forgive
talk about a
and
principle that
forget
never
it.
fails.
Get rid of it. You've risen
Following
above that
this
sort of thing.
particular idea
Gives quality and richness to
And
life.
as you develop a great
It will also
attitude,
produce
you'll
a peace of
probably
mind
realize
that
that
never
you've
wavers,
already placed
and the
yourself on the
principle
road to
is
what you seek.
Integrity.
Go well on your way.
It makes no difference how successful
Like
you
other
may
great
have been in the
ideas, it
past.
gets a
You'll
lot
be
of lip
delighted
service,
with the
but
ease and
it's seldom
comfort
a true
of your
way of
new
life.
How bad
people
or
love
poor
and value
attitudes
a
of
person
others
of
can be as
integrity.
infectious as the
Integrity
common
in
cold.
everything we do,
It's
in all of our
important that we look on
relationships
them
with others.
in this light
Integrity in
as
what we
infectious
say.
conditions
Integrity
that can
in our
only
work.
end by hurting and
But
annoying
the word
us if we allow
integrity
ourselves
often
to catch
conjures
them.
up a person of
Like
stern
the
and
doctor,
sober
often
visage
working with people
who
with
walks the
infectious
straight and
conditions.
narrow.
That's
That's not
keep
the kind of
ourselves
integrity I'm
healthy.
talking about.
We simply don't
I'm
have
talking
time
about
for that sort of
integrity
thing.
with a sense of humor.
Whoever started the
integrity
cliche
with
life's too
understanding.
short certainly knew what he or she
Integrity
was
with
talking
kindness
about. It
and
really is
gentleness,
too short, much
but
too short,
integrity
to
all
spend
the
any of
same.
our valuable time
Never
mimicking
expediency.
the attitudes of others.
Never saying,
unless they're good.
well, everybody else is doing it.
A great
I guess it
attitude
won't
does
hurt
much
if
more
I
than
do
turn
it
on
too.
the lights in our worlds. It
But
seems
it
to
does hurt.
magically connect us
If
to
it's
all
wrong,
sorts of
and we know it's wrong,
serendipitous
it does
opportunities
hurt.
that were somehow absent
seed
before
for
the
achievement
change.
is
Maybe that's what
integrity.
people mean when they say we're
Integrity
lucky.
means honesty and the
Suddenly
truth.
we do find
Perhaps it was
ourselves
best
getting
put
the
in the
so-called
famous line by
breaks, but it's really
Shakespeare,
nothing
when
more than this
Hamlet
new
has Polonius
connection
say,
with the world that
and
comes
this
with a
above
great
all,
attitude.
to thine own
We find
self
ourselves
be true.
doing more
And
and doing
must
it in
follow
less
us from
time.
night to day.
We put ourselves
Thou
directly in the
canst
path of
then
all
be
kinds
false
of
to any
serendipitous
man.
happenings.
If we're
When you
true to
begin to
ourselves,
develop a
we
better
cannot
attitude,
be
you
false
should
to
realize
anyone
that
else.
you've already
If our
placed
word to
yourself
live
in the
by
top
is integrity, we
5%
have what we
of
need
the
in a
people,
pinch.
the
Our
most
sleep is
successful
on
people
trouble,
on earth.
and we're respected
You've
wherever
placed
we go.
yourself on the road to what you seek.
During the Korean
You've
War,
prepared
the
the
Chinese
ground.
communists
You've
overran
only
an
to plant
American
the seed.
position and captured an
Now,
American
in summing
general.
up,
He
here
was
are a few
subjected
points
to weeks of the worst kind of treatment. First, brainwashing. It's our attitude at the beginning of a difficult task, which more than anything else told that will bring about a successful outcome. He would be executed the following morning. Our attitudes toward others determine their attitudes toward us. And at the end of the letter, he said, "We're all interdependent. Tell Johnny the word is even in life will depend largely on how well we relate to others." As it turned out, he was not executed. Thirdly, and before you can achieve the kind of life you want, but you must think he was going to die, act, he told his son, and conduct yourself in all of your affairs as would the person you wish to become. As best we can,
Keep a mental picture of that person before you as often as you can during the day, and make a true assessment. And fourthly, remember that the higher you go in any organization of value you want, the better the attitude you'll find. Not long ago, I received a letter not the result of success, in which he said, "Success I came the result of advice about happiness from my mentor, and finally the deepest craving of the human being is my newsletter some time back. And self-esteem is one of the greatest men of our century, even though few people to be recognized and appreciated. He celebrated his includes our loved ones and the all the people with whom we come in contact during Reasonable Men. A biographical to make these important principles a habit-knit part of our lives, John Stuart suggestions. And Henry Sidgwick, since our minds can hold only one thought at a time, the key virtue that leads to all the others constructive is reasonableness. Look for the best in people and ideas. Be constantly alert for new ideas and put their use in your life. And on the subject of happiness, don't waste time talking about your problems to people who can't think too much about it. Or your health, the person who continually asks himself or you're talking to your doctor, is apt to miss his end. It won't help you, as Aristotle cannot help others. Is a byproduct of healthful and successful the attitude activity. Of well-being and confidence. Bertrand Russell, the attitude of the person who knows where he or she is going. Scientists are generally all sorts of good things happening to you, since they're commonly lost in objective tasks. Treat everyone with whom you come in contact as the most important person on earth. Is to find what one can do best. Practice it consistently and you'll do it, and benefit from it, and then to for the rest of your life. All one's might. Happiness will come unsought. If one seeks it directly, one will be like the discontented old ladies who haunt Miami hotels. Number 2, the main principle of my ethics is, Brand Blanchard writes, to act as to make the world as much better as possible. A man was born who was to have a profound effect upon the lives of millions of people. He has made his name was Russell Herman Conwell. But trying to live up, he became a lawyer, then a newspaper editor, and finally a clergyman in one's actions. It was during his church career that an incident occurred which was to change his life and the lives of countless others. Many people think, of course, that acting on impulse is a requirement of happiness. One day a group of young people came to Dr. Conwell in his church and asked him if he'd be willing to instruct them in college courses. Seeking happiness, they all wanted a college education but lacked the money to pay for it. Is too likely to. He told them to let him think about it and come back in a few days. And the distinguished Yale professor wrote, after they left, an idea began to form in Dr. Conwell's mind. He asked himself, why couldn't there be a fine college for poor but deserving young people? Most for his community, whose before very long the idea consumed the most trusted. Why not indeed? The person who is it was a project worthy of 100% dedication. I don't mean the intellectual, who's often an impractical and almost single-handedly Dr. Conwell raised several $1 million, with which he founded Temple University, today one of the country's leading schools. Evidence. He raised the money by giving more than 6,000 lectures all over the country, and in each one of them he told a story called No Two Lives Have the Same Values. The richness it was a true story, which had affected him very deeply, and it had the same effect on his audiences. Out who one is, the money he needed to build the college came pouring in. Combination of powers. The story was the account of an African farmer who heard tales about other farmers who had made millions by discovering diamond mines. These tales so excited the farmer that he could hardly wait to sell his farm and go prospecting for diamonds himself. Blanchard. So he sold the farm and spent the rest of his life wandering the African continent, searching unsuccessfully for the gleaming gems which brought such high prices on the markets of the world. Finally, the story goes, worn out and in a fit of despondency, he threw himself into a river and drowned. But on finding out back at the ranch, or farm in this case, the man who had bought his farm happened to be crossing a small stream on the property, when suddenly there was a bright flash of blue and red light from the stream bottoms. He bent down, picked up the stone. It was a good-sized stone, and admiring it, there's something later put it on his fireplace mantel as an interesting curiosity, and which will several weeks later a visitor picked up the stone, looked closely at it, after that incident, and nearly fainted. He asked the farmer if he knew what he'd found. When the farmer said no, that he thought it was a piece of crystal. The visitor told him he had found one of the largest diamonds ever discovered. As a radio listener wrote to me one day, the farmer had trouble believing that. He told the man that his creek was full of such stones, not as large perhaps as the one on the mantel, but well, they were sprinkled generously throughout the creek bottom. Responsibility of making the needless to say, the farm the first farmer had sold so that he might find the diamond mines, turned out to be the most productive diamond mine on the entire African continent.
These are our possessions.
The first farmer had owned,
immense amount of wealth
free and clear, acres of
and it's
diamonds,
the investment of our wealth,
but
which
had
will
sold
determine
them
our
for
rate of
practically
return.
nothing in order to look for them
Our
elsewhere.
mind, our abilities, our talents,
Well, the moral
and
is
time.
clear.
No one
If the
can
first
take those
farmer
away from
had
us.
only taken the
We take
time
them with
to
us
study
wherever
and
we go,
prepare himself,
and they represent our
to
true
learn
wealth.
what diamonds look
That's
like
what
in their
makes the
rough
human
state,
being
and since he had
autonomous,
already owned a
although
piece
most
of the
people don't
African
know it.
continent, to
They remind
thoroughly
me of the
explore the
horse or
property
elephant
he
that
had
neatly does what it's
before
told
looking
or
elsewhere,
directed to do.
all of his
It's
wildest
completely
dreams
unaware of its own
would have
strength.
come true.
It doesn't know how easily it
Now, the
can
thing
do
about
what
this
wants
story
to do,
that so
and
profoundly
millions of
affected Dr.
miraculous
Conwell
human
and
creatures live in
subsequently
tiny
many
prisons
brothers
of their
was
own
the idea
fashioning,
that each of us is at this
completely
moment
unaware of their
standing
powers to be
in the
free to
middle
do
of
what they
his
would
or
most
her
love
own
to do,
acres of
and in
diamonds.
so doing, reap a
If
harvest
we'll only
beyond
have
their
the
wildest
wisdom and
imaginings.
patience to
They are
intelligently
slaves to
and
their
effectively
ignorance,
explore
and
the
follow
work in
each
which
other
we're now
around and
engaged,
around like so
to
many
explore
processionary
ourselves,
caterpillars.
we'll usually find the
How have
riches
they
we seek,
invested their
whether
wealth,
they
their
be financial
minds, their
or
abilities, their
intangible or
talents,
both.
and time?
Before we go running
They're not
off to
even
what
aware
we
of
think
it.
are greener pastures, let's make
As
sure
with
that
the
our
ownership
own
of
is not
wealth of
just
any
as
kind,
green or
it's
perhaps
up to
even
us to
greener.
decide what
It's
use
been
we'll
said
make
that
of
if the other guy's
We can
pasture
squander
appears
it
to be
until it's
greener than
gone,
ours,
spend it
it's
in
quite
idle
possible that he's
skelter
getting better
fashion
care.
without much purpose or
Besides,
meaning.
while we're looking
Or
at
we
other
can invest
pastures,
it with
other
intelligence
people are
and
looking at
purpose
ours.
and receive an abundant return.
There are few things
A
more
return
pitiful
which
to my
will more
mind
than
than the person
provide
who
for our
wastes
families
his
all
life
the
running
years
from
of our
one thing
lives.
to another, forever looking
The
for the
choice
pot
is
of gold
ours,
at the end of the
and
rainbow.
it's here that integrity comes
and never
into the
staying with
picture.
one thing long
We're
enough
the
to
only
find
ones
it.
from whom we can steal time.
No matter what your
talent,
goal
ability,
may
and the
be,
use of
perhaps
our
the
minds.
road to it can be found
It's
in the
making
very
the best
thing you're
use
now
of what we
doing.
have,
It wasn't
what
until
we
he was
are,
completely paralyzed
in the
by
time we
polio
spend
and forced to
granted us.
reach into the rich
Sound
resources
simple?
of his mind
Well, truth is
that a
always
courageous
simpler than
farmer got the
complicated.
idea of producing
As soon as
exceptionally
we
good meat
properly
products
invest
on his
our true
farm.
wealth, we place
From that
ourselves above
idea, one of the
competition.
country's most
We're no
successful
longer
meat packing
competing, we're
companies was
creating.
born.
We're understanding
His farm
something with
contained
the
acres
great
of diamonds
people have
too.
never known.
He just never had
It
to
was the
dig for them
foundation
before.
upon which every great career has been
Your
built
mind
in
is your
every field.
richest resource.
So invest
Let
in
it
that
thoroughly
yellow
explore the
legal pad and
possibilities
little ballpoint
lurking in
pen
what you're
in your
presently
own
doing
best quiet
before
time.
turning to something
Start
new.
making notes.
I say that because there were probably good reasons for your having
Here are some
chosen your
givens in the
present work in
success
the beginning.
department.
If there
Success has
weren't,
nothing at all to
and
do
if
with
you're
the size of the
unhappy
brain,
in the
the
field
largest
you're in,
brain on record
well,
was
then
the
perhaps
brain of
it's
an
time
idiot.
for some
The
serious
smallest, the
exploration.
brain of Anatole France, who won the Nobel
Dr. Russell
Prize in
Conwell's
Literature in
life is a living
1921.
example of the importance
Some of the
a
world's
willingness
greatest
to
people in
change
every field
once one's
are or
own
were
pasture has
short,
been
bald,
thoroughly
and fat,
explored.
some tall and skinny,
I said that
some were
Dr.
brilliantly
Conwell began as a
educated,
lawyer,
some had little or no
then later
schooling.
changed to become a
The person
newspaper
destined
editor
for greatness
before he
is the
finally
person
found
who
his true
decides for
calling as a
himself
clergyman
to follow
and the
his or her
founder
strongest
of a great
suit.
university.
But truly successful people all have
Every
one thing
kind
in
of
common.
work has such
They all
opportunity
follow
lurking within
consciously or
it.
unconsciously
The opportunities
the
are
law
there
of cause and
now,
effect.
clamoring
They
to be
know
noticed,
themselves.
but they cannot speak.
Although most
or
people
print
will give lip
signs for
service
us
to
to
the
read.
idea of integrity, they're really not
Our
at all
part of the
sure about
bargain
it. With
is
a
to
great
look at our
majority,
work
it's
with
often
new
a matter of
eyes, with the eyes
expediency.
of
If
creation.
it's expedient to be honest, fine, they're honest. If it's more expedient
Tired
to realize a
Chardin
quick
said,
profit in some
"It
way
is
by
our
not
duty as men
disclosing
and
the whole
women to
truth, or
proceed
by
as though
shading it a
limits
bit,
to our
well,
abilities do
shading
not
a bit.
exist. We are
It's in them on the
collaborators
basis of
in
short-term
creation."
or even instant gratification.
A man I
They
knew
don't
in
say
Arizona
succeeding
began
is a
with a small
long-range
gas
program.
station. One
They
day,
don't
sitting at
know
his desk
about
and
what I
watching
like
through
to
the
call
window
the
while one of
unfailing
his young
boomerang.
attendants filled a man's gas tank,
Every time a person does
he watched
something
the customer
dishonest,
while he
whether it's
stood
small or
about
large,
waiting
whether
for the
it's
job
stealing
to
a
be
pair of
finished.
pliers from the plant
It
or
dawned upon him that that man
$10,000.
had money in his pockets,
He's throwing
and
the
there were
boomerang.
things he needed or
It's the
wanted
same with
that
small
he'd pay for if
dishonesties
they were
with
conveniently
manipulating the
displayed
truth.
where he could see them.
How far the boomerang will
So
travel,
he
no
began
one can
adding
tell.
things.
Or how great a
Fishing
small
tackle,
circle it will
then
traverse,
fishing
only time will
licenses,
tell.
hunting and
But it
camping
will
equipment,
eventually, inevitably,
rifles,
come
shotguns,
around full
ammunition,
circle,
hunting
and deliver
licenses.
its never
He found an
failing
excellent
and
line of
painful
aluminum
blow.
fishing boats and trailers.
Honesty,
He began buying up the
unfailing
contiguous
integrity
property around him.
is
Then he
good
added an
business.
auto parts
In
department.
fact, Mirabeau
He'd
wrote,
always
"If
carried
honesty
cold
did not
soft drinks drinks and candy, but now he added next month's line of chocolates in a refrigerated case.
Did you know that?
Before long, he sold more chocolates than anyone else in the state.
And all
he
we
carried
have to
thousands
do
of
under any
things his
circumstance
customers could buy
is ask
while
ourselves,
waiting for
is
the
this
cars
true?
to
Is this
be
honest? Is this the best I can do?
All the products
And
he
if it is,
sold
go
also
ahead with the
guaranteed
happy
that most of the
realization
gas
that putting
customers in
most of the
town
right
would come to
cars
his station.
and know
he
that the
sold more
effect will
gas.
take care of itself.
He began cashing checks
Our
on
only hope of
Friday,
real
and
success
the
of winning
bonanza
the hearts
grew
and minds
and
of the
grew.
people we
It
serve
all
is
started
in
with a
helping them
man
in
with
some
a
way,
human
thus improving
brain
their standard of
watching
living.
a customer
But if we're
standing
content to
around
give
with
less
money
than
in
our
his
best,
pockets
we're
and
actually
nothing to
working
spend
against
it on.
ourselves. Others would have lived and died with the small service station. The average working person, my friend saw the diamonds, is paid for about 40 hours a week. Serve the customer. This leaves 120 Serve the customer better than anyone else is serving the customer. Never before in the history of humankind. Many service station operators, upon seeing a wealthy customer drive in, might say to themselves, "If we sleep 8 hours in business, 3 times so much time. There's just as much opportunity in one business as all that time worth. If we'll only stop playing copycat with each other, relax, and begin to think creatively, begin to think in new directions. But it's there, believe me, and it's our job to find it. Our greatest enemy is never time to stand off and look at your work ignorance. As a stranger, the greatest ignorance of all. Why does he do it that way? Belief that we can ever receive more. Has he noticed how what he's doing might be capitalized sooner or later, or multiplied? Every day for if you're happy with things as they are, then by all means keep them that way. But there's great fun in finding diamonds hiding in ourselves and in our work. We never get bored or blasé or find ourselves in a rut. A rut, we're reminded, is really nothing more than a grave with the ends kicked out. It means giving everything Some of the most interesting businesses in the world grew out of what was originally a very small idea in a very small area. This gives if something is needed in one town, then the chances are it's also needed in all we'll move ahead cities all over the country. Simply because you might also ask yourself, how good am I and what I'm presently doing? A person of integrity is always you know all there is to know about your work. Would you call yourself a first-class professional at your work? To look for truth. How would your work stand up against the work of others in your lives? To check things out. The educator and author J.B. Matthews wrote, tell us, unless a person has trained himself for his chance, knowing that there's always a better way to make him ridiculous, and then a better way to occasion is worth to a man exactly what his preparation enables him to make him do. I'm sure Dr. Matthews intended to include the female half of the world in that no better off than the I'm often appalled by how little people know about the person who does not continue to learn. That's not my department, they'll say. Is no better I suppose if they see a fire starting in someone else's department, they would report it with integrity every day of our lives. Most real estate people don't sell homes and property. All they show our lives. Homes and property. It's realizing that something a 6-year-old child can experience. They often know nothing at all about selling or marketing, yet they call themselves real estate professionals. Remember to think of your life as they're actually tour guides. Soil waiting to be This is the living room. You can only they say to intelligent men and women who already know what a living room looks like. You have great wealth. You have a mind. You can think. Come to think of it, I think it was many abilities. Once wrote that the human race is much like a convoy in time of war. The whole menagerie is slowed down to protect the slowest ships, and they march on in that dusty valley, unmindful of the diamonds beneath their feet. The first thing we need to do to become a diamond miner is to break away from the crowd and quit assuming that because people in the millions are living that way, it must be the best way. It is not the best way. It's the average way. The people going the best way are way out in front. They're so far ahead of the crowd you can't even see their dust anymore. They're the people who live and work on the leading edge, the cutting edge, and they mark the way for all the rest. As you must. Do your we work. Have a choice to make, really. Put your heart into it, and it takes imagination, curious imagination to know that diamonds don't look like cut and polished gemstones in their rough state, nor does a pile of iron ore look like stainless steel. To prospect your own acres of diamonds, develop a faculty we might call intelligent objectivity. The faculty to stand off and look at your work as a person from